Serious, what's something that happened to you that sounds made up but isn't? I went blind in one of my eyes overnight my senior year in high school. My parents thought I was joking when I told them. Spent majority of that year at the Wilmer Eye Institute. I had a 1 in 1 billion eye disease. The rare eye disease was AMPEE. Thank you for all the kind words and laughs. No, my eyesight never returned. Laughable, my right eye they tell me is 20/2200. So I can see out of it, but everything just looks like shadows, outlines. When I was in elementary school, my brother and I were walking home with my friend. I kept tapping him on the shoulder from behind, that little prank where you tap the right shoulder and move to the left, pretending you didn't do anything. After a few taps, he told me to stop. No joke, right after that, a squirrel fell from a tree and hit his shoulder. He got so upset and thought I did it again. My brother and I could never convince him that it was a squirrel. London, Brixton Market bombing. Spring 1999. Walked straight past the bomb, went into Iceland's supermarket, went right to the back as I knew what I was looking for. Bomb exploded just as I reached for the fridge door. Nail bomb, 44 people injured, it was chaos. I went to kindergarten with this kid and he moved before the end of the year. Then in 5th grade I moved to Washington and wound up in the same class as this kid. Then he moved again. I moved to California when I was 15 and had English class with him. Then I moved to Arizona, haven't seen him since. James, if you are reading this, I'm gonna find you. We should both be 32 now. Holy crap, this is my most liked comment ever. Thanks guys. Heart went into VFib while on a chairlift with my 6-year-old son. He yelled down to ski patrol that his dad is in trouble. They gave me CPR while sledding me down to bottom and hit me with AED many times till they got my pulse back, then off to ER and put in hypothermic coma for 3 days, and I woke up from it cracking jokes and wondering what the heck happened. At the age of 6 I was swept away from my family by some ferocious rapids, spent what seems like forever bouncing off of rocks in freezing water, and was eventually rescued by 2 Australians on air mattresses. This was a river in Utah. Not that exciting really, but a guy tried to run me over once. Like he literally started driving on the pavement towards me, so I just ran across the street and hid. And he just started doing laps over the general area like he was looking for me or something, lol. I was at a hibachi restaurant and the chef was doing his tricks. In my mind's eye, I watched the chef lose control of his spatula toward my kid. It was something like a vision and not just an intrusive thought. A half-second later I instinctively raised my hand, just the chef actually lost control and blocked it just as I imagined. My wife and the chef were both stunned. It still freaks me out a little. I couldn't block hotel rooms for my wedding because a bunch of pirates already reserved the rooms. There happened to be a pirate festival the weekend of my wedding. It always sounds like a wedding anxiety nightmare, but it was true, lol. Wanted to edit for everyone asking. Wedding was in June on the East Coast. But now I know that pirate festivals are apparently a common thing, ha ha ha. My wife died in her sleep from heart failure. I had just secured a lawyer for what I thought would be a long, terrible divorce. Based on our deep hatred for each other. I was suddenly a single parent trying to figure all the parent things out. You cannot imagine the shock. The worst part was waiting nearly 6 weeks for the coroner to determine her cause of death. Waiting for that outcome, I felt like I was going to be a subject of some long investigation and show up on one of those shows on Netflix. I was walking through my college campus. I turned the corner around one building and ran smack into the Dalai Lama. Almost knocked him down. He was gracious about it and laughed. I followed him to a speech he was there to deliver and wound up going to a monastery for a couple of years to take classes on Buddhism and meditate. Overslept on 9/11. I was supposed to be downtown, but we had a late night so we didn't hear our alarms to wake us up. Edit typo. I am a fat American. I had to go to the Philippines in a hurry because my brother had been stabbed in a mugging there and he was in the hospital in bad shape. He ultimately survived. I had hurriedly packed and forgot my underwear, so I tried to buy some there, but Filipinos are almost universally skinny and I could not find a 44-inch waist. At the hospital I got on the elevator with a fat Filipino DR. "Me, do you mind if I ask you something?" "Doctor, sure, go ahead." "Me, where do you get clothes that fit?" "Doctor, my sister in America sends them to me." Had almost 3 close encounters with death, almost drowned, a bear crept up to me, and cardiac arrest during surgery. My guardian angel must be working OT. I was killed on screen by Leonardo DiCaprio in a Martin Scorsese movie. I work in a grocery store, and for 1 week I work together with the prince of my country, because our queen wants her children to have worked a student job. As teenagers, Buddy and I were out in his car, at night, stopped at a red light. Light turns green, and normally he would take off. He didn't, so I looked over at him. He looked hypnotized. A second later, another car blew through the light. If we had gone as normal, we would have been killed. I got struck by lightning while sitting under the flagpole at the John Deere estate in Illinois one night. Indirect hit. Saw a white flash. Felt a heat flash. Heard thunder. Then I felt myself hit the ground. Totally unharmed. I was stabbed multiple times saving a little girl from pedophile in a mall and dragged his ass outside and called the cops and passed out when the cops got there. February 13, 2022, 35 am. I inconspicuously suddenly woke up and bolted up straight out of bed. I had no idea what caused me to bolt awake and sit straight up. Never happened before. My aunt called me the next evening to let me know that my grandmother passed away around 2:30 am. the night before. My grandmother and I were quite close before she started developing Alzheimer's, eventually forgetting who I was. I helped save the life of the son of the president of certain motorcycle club in San Antonio, and he made me an honorary member. He gave me a shirt and everything. I'm a nurse and the kid was so sweet. When I was 3, my mother had a psychotic episode and was calling me the Antichrist and took me to her church with intent on sacrificing me at the altar. She was later diagnosed as having schizophrenia. In middle school I was chased by a man wearing an orange jumpsuit, carrying a large metal object. Ran inside home, locked door, turned to the window only to be eye to eye with said person staring at me through the window. He left immediately. Called the police, they said they found him, the jumpsuit, several large wrenches and knives, but he claimed he was there for a cable company. They let him go. Once I was on the bus home from work and a guy got on at a stop next to a supermarket and sat down next to me. He took a cello-wrapped packet of hot dogs out of his shopping bag and tore it open with his teeth, then proceeded to remove the hot dogs one by one, heat up bite-sized pieces with a cigarette lighter and eat them. Was camping by myself and sleeping when a bear came to my campsite. She managed to get one of the food containers off the rope and came over to my tent and sat against my back through the fabric of the tent eating my food. She then laid down with her back against mine and took a nap. Honestly, a warm bear deep breathing against your back is an amazing big spoon. My parents died 2 months apart from 2 different cancers when I was a teenager. It sounds completely made up, but unfortunately, it's very true. This was in 1998, so I'm good on the internet sympathy, just sharing. When I was 12 I had one of my testicles get stuck in the vacuum hose. That was the last time I ever experimented with a vacuum. When I was in middle school I was in witness protection with my family for a while without knowing I was in witness protection, and my mother escaped witness protection because she didn't want to miss her company's first trade